everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited because today, this is an interview that I feel like it's been almost, 9 months in the making since you first joined. I have been looking forward to this moment. So, because we don't have a lot of time and I want y'all to get as much as you can from her because there's a lot to learn. I'm just going to ask you, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome to the podcast.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Lacy. My name is Ihudia Finda Williams, but I go by Finda. I recently completed my PhD from the University of Michigan. But you asked me who am I, or I like to take it as where do I come from. So I'm originally from the DC metropolitan area. I'm a child of a single parent from a working class family. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I am a aunt to many people, and I do work that is focused on in the area of human computer interaction. And so that is, I guess, who I am in some roundabout way.
Listen, y'all, when she first told me, oh, this is my program, I was like, wait, are you sure you want to be in the finish your dissertation program? I don't know. Like, listen, I have skills. I can help people get out of imposter syndrome and writer's block, but that sounds real complicated. But then you told me about your research, and I was like, oh, I could get with this. So would you be willing to tell people a little bit about your dissertation work?
Sure. So I partner with formerly incarcerated individuals and their support systems as we look at digital literacy for job search. And I use primarily qualitative research methods, but my work is going into building some type of prototype as I work alongside this community. So Dr. Lacy was definitely within my wheelhouse. And, after learning about her literature review classes, I was already sold.
I love that. Y'all, listen, I wish we had more time to dive deeper into that work, but listen, her Instagram should be below, and I'm hoping that by the time this comes out, you could see a lot more about it. But let's go back to, so you invested in the literature review workshop, which most people do as a, let me see what this is about. And then a good portion of those people like you will make a decision to come into the full program. And while we are changing things a little bit now, there are still people who are kind of on the fence trying to figure out, is this a good investment for me? So just briefly, so that people can be on the same page, it will no longer be in the like a 12-month container in the way that it was before. Now we're transitioning to a membership because people, especially these days, resources are going up and down. And so in order to make it more accessible to folks, it's now a monthly membership that you can come and get what you need. And when you don't need it, you can leave. And vice versa. And we also included things beyond the dissertation process. It's also about business, life, and relationships. So, Linda, where were you before deciding to, like, mentally and emotionally, where were you before deciding to join a group? Like, as someone who has a very supportive pair, you have, some would argue, a lot of resources. Why would you need a group?
Cool. So I guess to a certain extent, but the reality is, I suffer sometimes through imposter syndrome, and I needed a space, or I was looking for resources that kind of help affirm what I know, and also to help me to think about different ways and approaches of the work that I'm doing. And so I was very intrigued by your literature review workshop. And I loved it. I loved being taught by a Black woman. There's not a lot of Black women in my field. And so it was just nice, hearing your voice, seeing you, and being taught from you. And your approach was so simple that it made me write. And that was the goal at the end of the day, was to write. And so then what made me sign up further was that, academia can sometimes gaslight you. Even though we're admitted to these programs, we often, start questioning ourselves, start questioning our intelligence, start questioning if we can do it, because, traditionally these systems weren't set up for us. And so I appreciated that, for the most part, you work with Black people, people of color. You work with qualitative researchers from different disciplines. You work with a great diversity of people, and you remind us and affirm us of who we are. And then you also give us the skills to pretty much counteract those mindsets that might approach us on a day-to-day basis. So, like, simple things like when you come home from a long day, you're not going to want to write. and you've taught us, how to take a step back and, teach ourselves that, either choose to rest for that day and then pick it up tomorrow, or see within yourselves if you can do at least 30 minutes or so to get things moving. And I appreciated that. And I don't think any dissertation or PhD program does that. You really do need a very diverse mentor. But the reality is, our advisors and even our mentors out there, they can only do so much. So it was really, really nice, just having you.
I love that. Thank you. And let me tell you, I feel like from the first moment, I don't know when our exact first interaction, but I just have memories of being like, oh, she has no idea. Number one, how brilliant she is. And number two, I just want to hug her.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're like, I want to do all these things. I was like, we can't do it all in one night. But with that being said, what were some of your expectations before coming into the program, and how did those change or evolve as you were in the program?
Right. So I think in terms of expectations, I was pretty open. I think like from your website, you talk about like, having like resources for individuals. And then also, I'm doing the literature review class. I think I found your podcast and social media. So I knew I was going to get the real. I knew like you weren't going to hold back. And I felt like I needed that. But what I also got once I got in was a community setting. So it was the group coachings, and like the profound like backgrounds and expertise of other students or other PhD and doctors in the room who kind of like poured into me or challenged me, that I also appreciated. It was a Facebook group access, in addition to the like online classes and workshops for each of the chapters of the PhD portion, the PhD dissertation that helped me. And so, for the most part, again, I do have resources outside, but how I approached it was that, at least for me, I needed the accountability. I needed the accountability, and I needed a affirming space that affirmed myself as an intellectual. And so, I pretty much used a lot of, at least a group coaching time, to hold myself accountable, speak up and say where I'm at in the process, and then also allow that space to also either affirm or grow me when it comes to my mindset, when it comes to this dissertation process.
Yes, and I would say what I appreciated most is whether I asked you or not, you gave me an update every week. Where
Yeah,
most
yeah.
people are terrified to do it, or they may say, "Oh, I didn't do enough this week, so I'm not going to say anything." No matter how your week went, whether it was, it's making me think about that call and you like, "I'm on my second pint of ice cream. No, I didn't do anything," or whether you were like, "Listen, I made a whole business plan and I finished a chapter. I'm just on the road." Like it was like no matter where you were, the ups and downs, you were like, "I need to let you know." Can you speak a little bit more about why you prioritize providing an update every week?
Right. So I did that because I think after the first couple of sessions, I asked myself, what is it that I need and what is it that I'm looking for? Like I said, you give a wealth of resources, but everybody's different. And I realized that when I'm, updated, like you and everyone in the room where I was at, it gave me the space to write afterwards. It gave me the space to write for the week. If I was having a bad week and I was either needing to think through, I made it a point to just speak up and say it. And then, through your coaching, we would unpack it. We would unpack, why are you eating the ice cream? Like, we would unpack, why are you focusing on this business? Or we would unpack, like, you got this negative feedback, like, let's unpack it. Or what's the worst that could happen, which, challenged me a lot because I don't like thinking about worst case scenarios. And that helped me because I put it out there. It was challenged. We unpacked it, and then afterwards, it gave me space to write, to not have to worry about that. And then again, your tools that you give us, even without the coachings are on certain days. So even on those days that we didn't have coaching, again, putting it out there, like through writing, journaling before getting into the actual work was super helpful for me to focus on the actual work, to focus on, analyzing the work that I'm doing, to focus on, the care that I have for my participants in order to do the good work. And so I was grateful for that. And so, yeah, we did timeline planning on a weekly basis. So again, that helped me to kind of focus on like where I am in the process. You kept it simple for us, and I really do appreciate that from you, because oftentimes we can overcomplicate things. You kept it simple. You reminded us consistently that, like, this is just a time period. This is just an exercise. You're a researcher. You know how to do the work. It's just that you need to just perform this dissertation process, this dissertation, to get through and be that doctor. So I appreciate that.
Listen, that's the whole commercial right there, y'all. I'm gonna go back to your chair for a minute because one of the things I've been getting lately is like, what about those of us who have a good relationship with our chair? Like, sure, they can't be everything, but it's not awful. Like I'm hearing these other stories. It's this program for me, and so if you could speak more to how did you do more of that, integrating both the resources provided in this program and also the resource that was your chair? Like, how did you use both of those?
Yeah, so I felt like my chair and you gave very uniquely different things. So for my chair, I definitely went to him for like writing advice, in terms of like the details of my dissertation. But for you, I came to actually starting the writing of the dissertation, getting through the mental challenges of starting, so that I could produce writing that he could review and give feedback on. And so, for the most part, I felt like you all played very distinct and different roles in my life. So, during our one-on-ones and like advising meetings, I could focus on the research, I could focus on, the analysis, I can focus on the discussion. On your end, I'm focusing on, the mindset of how to get to the writing. I can focus on, what does a discussion look like? I can focus on, reaffirming if like like how to go about writing my analysis. So I feel like it was very complimentary. And then again, sometimes you were real, and I appreciated that realness. That I don't know, my advice is also very like honest and straightforward, and I think I got that from both of you, and I appreciated that because sometimes I needed that realness. Either I needed the grace, or I needed the realness of like, Finda, you need to give yourself grace, or Finda, you need to reassess, go back to your like Sunday plannings to kind of figure out like what you need to do to move forward. So on both ends, I was really appreciative. But more broadly, like you were saying, I did have a lot of reasons. I do have a lot of resources, but having a coach, having you there to kind of talk and unpack is very much different from like just like videos
Hmm.
or or pretty much videos of that might talk about similar topics. It's very much different. And then also kudos to you. I feel like you were able to tailor your coaching style to each of our individual needs. And so I do appreciate that too.
Yes, because it's reminded me, like going back to the whole like ice cream thing. If my memory serves me correctly, it was like, no, no, Finn, to go ahead and open up that second one. We're gonna talk about this, but you need the ice cream. And I also remember other people being like, I need ice cream too, because this conversation got real. And so I do want to say, like, although she's saying like unpack and helping me, it's not this, even though it might feel this way sometimes, but it's never the intention. And I structure the group in a way of like, we're gonna talk about the hard things, but you don't have to feel immense shame and guilt while we're talking about it.
Right,
Like, so
right,
go get the ice cream. Oh, you over there doing your hair. Like, this is a living room conversation that we're gonna have as a group. Even if we're talking to one person, everyone's going to benefit from it. So, although I was talking to you about taking a break and resting, right, everyone was benefiting from it.
right.
And to really contextualize this, your chair, I feel like, gave you a deadline and you were like, okay, let's just say it was a week or something. So that's what he gave you. But when you came to me, it's like, yeah, you got a week to do it. Doesn't mean you need to burn yourself out at the beginning. You got a whole 7 days. How do we use the 7 days wisely? Right? And so to give people an idea of what that means to compliment, I'm not gonna go against your chair and be like, don't listen to them. It's let me translate what they're saying and let
Right.
me help you find a way to do it in a way that works with you and not against you.
Right, right. And I think that's what, you know, helped me to be a doctor today, is that at the end of the day, everyone, including you in my chair, were on the same team of trying to get me through that finish line. But everyone took their own different and unique approaches that fed into helping me be the person I am today. And I think couldn't be the person I am today without having that sense of affirmingness that you provided in terms of this pretty much pretty much this like road this trying to find the right word, but pretty much this road of trying to get your dissertation. This I don't know if it's necessarily a road, but I needed to talk about, I needed to talk about like pretty much life outside of the dissertation process. I needed to talk about when things hurt me. I needed to talk about, racism or classism or issues of sexism or gender related issues. And I feel like you provided that space and it was safe to unpack it and talk about it. And again, at least for me, put it out there, talk about it, unpack it, and then focus on the writing and focus on being an excellent researcher.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that you are. So, someone who came into the program, I think it was in the May, early June,
Yeah.
and then you finished in January. Now
Yeah.
we had about a month or so to like let things digest and process. What would you tell someone who's where you were last at the end of last spring semester, where you were? There's someone who's just like that, like, okay, I gotta finish this dissertation. I can see the finish line, but it feels so far away. And I see this program. Should I join it or not? What words of wisdom would you provide them?
First of all, I would say that there's nothing wrong with trying something you haven't tried before. So, prior to that, I didn't try coaching. Prior to that, I never like paid for a workshop on literature reviews. And so there's nothing wrong with trying a different approach than the approaches that you currently have. And, during this like dissertation process, you might learn that there's a multitude of approaches that work for you. I would also say when you're thinking about getting a coach, kind of unpack and understand like what is it that you want, what is it that you're trying to get out of it, and so that as you're engaging in your coaching sessions, you can work with your coach to ensure that you're getting what you came from, what you need from it. And for me, after attending the initial coaching sessions, it was accountability, unpacking, aspects of mindset when it comes to writing. And Dr. Lacy did an excellent job for that. And then also support Black women businesses. I think I think that was a huge selling point for me is that I was able to support a fellow Black woman who was doing excellent work and who was being real about it, who was being unapologetic about themselves, about their trajectory, about their business, and helping others along the way. And that's admirable, like, and who's doing this in an academic space. Like I mentioned earlier, like my field's not that diverse. And so again, I was happy, I was eager to find some way to jump on board and work with Dr. Lacy. And then Dr. Lacy has a realness that, I appreciated, that I needed, because sometimes, I lean positive. So I need somebody to be like, hey, let's play out both positives and, the challenges of this situation. And I'm truly grateful for that.
I love that. Listen, y'all, Fenda's gonna be back. Why? Because there's a business coming, and I'm putting it out there. It's going to happen. We're gonna give it some time. She's still in the midst of job searching and settling, trying to figure out where to be in the next year or so. But she's coming back. If people want to follow up with you, what would be the best way for them to do so?
Sure. So I have an Instagram called It's Academic, and I'm also on LinkedIn with my full name, Yehudia Finda Williams. And then I don't know if Twitter will exist in the future, but you
Twitter
can.
or TikTok?
Right. I'm not on TikTok yet, but I have a Twitter, and it's Io Brew, or if you just put my name in, I should pop up too. But yeah, I'm happy to connect. I'm happy to, again, share advice about, like my experiences working with Dr. Lacy. But I highly recommend this program, and I'm a doctor, so obviously it's working. So yeah.
Hey, and I will definitely put all those links in the show notes. But thank you so much for sharing today. And I'm so proud of you. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey because it's been a fun one. Yes. And look forward to having you back.
Thank you. I look forward to be back.